Welcome in, 49ers alarm update. Important time of the year that nobody's talking about, but this is very important to understand the situations regarding Brandon Aiyuk and even Christian McCaffrey. Contract trigger season. We're going to take a look at the structures of deals and how those structures and the key trigger dates in them impact what the 49ers might do moving forward. And of course, a Brandon Aiyuk potential trade is probably near the top of everyone's mind as they think about how the 49ers are constructing this team entering 2025. First off, according to Over the Cap, Christian McCaffrey saw a contract trigger yesterday on March 17th. You see the second option bonus right here, or I guess the first option bonus, the second bonus, the prorated signing bonus is in blue. That was given out to Christian McCaffrey last season when he signed the extension. This second one, or the first option bonus in green, was due to Christian McCaffrey from the 49ers on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. It's now March 18th, so I guess that was the fifth day of the new league year. The bonus prorates against the salary cap over 5 years through 2029. But if you multiply 2.8 times 5, that's 14.2 million. That, according to Over the Cap, was due to Christian McCaffrey on March 17th. Now, the 49ers sometimes have the contractual ability to not pick up the bonus, even if it's going to become guaranteed, and instead include it as a guaranteed part of the base salary, which allows for more maneuverability with the player in case they want to move him. I do not believe that was the case in this scenario with Christian McCaffrey. I know that with Deebo Samuel, had they not traded him by the trigger date, I believe that was April 1st for Deebo Samuel, the option bonus, which prorated for another 5 years, would have turned into base salary, and it would have allowed the 49ers to offload some of the cap hit of Deebo Samuel, even if they traded him after April 1st. But in the case of McCaffrey, seems that this was negotiated to be a March 17th trigger, and that date has come and it has passed. So that money now is going to be prorating against the cap. $14.2 million for Christian McCaffrey in this 2025 season, but only $2.8 million hits the cap in each subsequent season. If there are any updates on that front, I will let you know, but that is based on the over-the-cap contract structure for Christian McCaffrey. The Brandon Aiyuk situation is one that is, I think, more pressing because the 49ers are actively interested in trade offers for Brandon Aiyuk. Now, that offer might have to truly move them off of their position, or maybe they're just looking to offload the contract. We're not sure what degree of intensity the 49ers are pursuing a potential Brandon Aiyuk trade with, but we do know that there was acrimony during the contract process last year, and we do know that the 49ers in the deal itself did leave themselves a very interesting escape hatch. Here's the deal for Brandon Aiyuk. Signs it in 2024, gets the big signing bonus, which is in the blue column right here. The signing bonus was about $23 million for Brandon Aiyuk. It all adds up here to the bottom column, which sums everything up. The second year's pay, which is also guaranteed, comes to Brandon Aiyuk via the first option bonus, like was the case with Christian McCaffrey's contract. That one is highlighted in green. The first option bonus for Brandon Aiyuk is not paid out until April 1st. That is still 2 weeks away. And then there's a second option bonus that pays out around April 1st of 2026. But this one actually becomes guaranteed on April 1st of 2025. So all this to say that April 1st is a very big day in Brandon Aiyuk's contract. And the 49ers left themselves this window, even after Brandon Aiyuk signed his deal just, 6-7 months ago? They left themselves a window until April 1st to move on from the deal with basically only the price of a 1-year rental incurred. As of right now, the 49ers have only paid out the orange and the blue. So that's $23 million plus about $1.1 million. They paid about $24.1 million for 1 season of Brandon Aiyuk. Unfortunately, that season wasn't particularly efficient since he's tore his ACL and his MCL, but That is the subdivided deal that the 49ers were able to sign just in case they felt they're going to need to move on from Brandon Aiyuk this offseason. That means that the remainder of Ayuk's deal, or the part of the deal that would be acquired by another team if a trade does happen, looks like this. 4 years, $110 million, $27.5 million per year. So the 49ers signed Aiyuk for $120 million over 4 years, and that was not including the year that they already had in 2024 under contract. But it was essentially $30 million per year for the new money. Because San Francisco's already handled the signing bonus and they can't get that back, any acquiring team would have Aiyuk at $27.5 million per year. Had he not torn his ACL and MCL in week 7 of last season against the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously it would be a much more appealing deal to other teams. This contract could be acquired, and I think it'd be very reasonable to think it'd be acquired. So it makes sense that the 49ers did leave the escape hatch in this case, but they obviously didn't. You can't really work around an injury like that. An injury like that will scare other teams away. Now, it is possible that somebody does take a chance on Brandon Aiyuk, maybe with obviously lower draft compensation than would have been the case had he been healthy. And it's also important to remember that if that happens, only the first 2 years of these 4 years are guaranteed. So in effect, it'd be 2 years, $50 million. $25 million per year. And if everything was terrible with the Brandon Aiyuk experience for an acquiring team, they can move on after 2026. The same is the case with the 49ers, though, who have Aiyuk under contract right now. On April 1st, not only does the option bonus for 2025 pay out, but the option bonus for 2026 becomes guaranteed. So the 49ers will be saddled with a big investment in Brandon Aiyuk through the 2026 season. So in that way, you could see how the ACL and the MCL tear last year was very, very thorny territory for the 49ers, because not only did they lose the player who they're counting on to be their ex-receiver for the 2024 season, but they also might have lost a lot of the tradability and the escape hatch that or at least the convenient escape hatch that they had as a fallback in the 2025 offseason, with a 2026 trigger guaranteeing as well. Now, Aiyuk can bounce back this year if he's on the 49ers, and he could still be tradable in 2026. You just offload that option bonus part of the contract. This is why the structure is the way that it is for the 49ers. They wanted to surf the wave of the rising salary cap, but they also wanted to make sure that the prorations didn't take effect until certain dates, April 1st being a specific date in each subsequent season, so they could have some early offseason maneuverability with the player. And it just so happens that Brandon Aiyuk's trigger date, April 1st, is later than Christian McCaffrey's trigger date of March 17th. And of course, this is my own creation when I built the contract to illustrate it. But if you go to Over the Cap, they do great work. They've got contract notes. And for Christian McCaffrey's deal, which is this one on Over the Cap, it was March 17th, which has come and passed. Other trigger dates that I could go through for the 49ers. One had already passed before Christian McCaffrey's. Fred Warner. On February 12th, if the 49ers hadn't paid Fred Warner a $3.6 million buyback bonus, his contract would have expired. 2025 and 2026 would have been void years. Of course, that was a no-brainer. Warner's one of the best players in football. So on February 12th or before then, the 49ers paid him $3.6 million, and he is now under contract through 2026. Nothing for Trent Williams this offseason, but he's got an option bonus of $10 million kicking in next offseason. So if he is still playing into 2026, the 49ers have it set up to where they can prorate $10 million of his salary over 5 years against the salary cap. And that allows them to surf the wave of the rising cap. Nick Bosa, nothing this year, but next season, actually there is something this year, but it isn't anything to do with an option bonus or proration. On April 1st for Nick Bosa, $22.68 million is guaranteed for 2026. That's his base salary next season. So he vests into a full guarantee for 2026 on April 1st. Yetur Gross-Matos, $3 million of his salary for this season becomes guaranteed on April 1st. Diomedor Lenore recently signed a deal. That was 4 or 5 months ago at most. $6.5 million of his salary for this season becomes guaranteed, fully guaranteed on April 1st. Colton McKivitz, $2.2 million of his salary for 2025 becomes guaranteed on April 1st. George Odom, $1 million of his salary becomes guaranteed on April 1st. And that ties in with yesterday's news. Saran Neal, special teams ace, signs with the 49ers. It's going to be a 2-year deal for Saran Neal, who's been with the Bills and the Miami Dolphins. He's a little bit younger than George Odom at 30. Odom's going to be 32. We know that Odom's is the existing special teams ace on the roster. Saran Neal, it comes from a DB background as well. He's more of a slot corner nickel back than he is a safety like Odom. But could the signing of Neal, coupled with Odom's $1 million vesting guarantee on April 1st, mean that the 49ers will move on from George Odom over the course of the next couple of weeks before that April 1st date? I think it's entirely possible. Special teams coordinator Brant Boyer might be wanting to bring in his own guys. Saran Neal was in the AFC East with Buffalo and with Miami. So Brant Boyer, the Jets special teams coordinator from 2016 to 2024, likely very familiar with him. Maybe he wants to double up on Saran Neal and George Odom, have a couple special teams aces, plus the Luke Gifford signing. He came from Tennessee. That's 49ers assistant special teams coordinator Colt Anderson's connection. But so we'll see over the course of the next 2 weeks if the 49ers keep Odom or if that trigger date is something that they used to cut Odom before, because they have now added Saran Neal to the team. All right, back to this. Jake Brendel has nothing this year. No, there's no trigger dates, and nothing's guaranteed in his contract this offseason. Same thing with George Kittle, and that's why George Kittle is in line to receive a contract extension, because he's got 1 year left, no guarantees, no options, nothing is triggering this offseason. So the 49ers will want to take care of George Kittle, extend him so that he's under contract through year 10, just like Kyle Juszczyk. Anyway, hopefully that explains where the 49ers are from a maneuverability standpoint. Christian McCaffrey, according to Over the Cap, has had his option bonus vest. That's $14.2 million for Christian McCaffrey. That staggers up against the cap. That theoretically makes the 49ers more dug into that position. He's one of the foundational pillars. That's what we expected. And Brandon Aiyuk, well, we're still waiting to see if he can return to foundational pillar status for the 49ers. And April 1st is the big trigger date for his $20+ million option. I think 22 million, I said, right? Yeah, something around 22 million for the 2025 season. Well, the 49ers, they've been creative in these contract structures, and they have given them some option power over the course of this offseason. There's your 49ers alarm update. We'll be back with news whenever it drops today.